and gentlemen, welcome back to our webinar. Now we are moving to our third speaker, who is Dr. Enzyme from Bangladesh. He is a master's in poultry science from Bangladesh Agriculture University and MBA in Dhaka International University of Bangladesh. He is animal nutrition consultant. He has been working in the poultry and aquaculture industry for 20 years and serving for SB poultry, fish and poultry feed, fatty head, fish and poultry feed, Western feed, and so on. He is an expert in feed formulation too, and conducting technical training for officers from ACI, a very big, very huge company, Farmer Ross, engineer. And please welcome Mr. Akhtar to share the topic of current status of fish production and the market trends in Bangladesh. Mr. Akhtar, please.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can see, but not so clear.
Not so clear because I'm not so. I think there may be Wi-Fi capacity.
Okay.
Thank you I'm very happy to have a chance to be associated with you all, especially on the webinar of change and challenges in aqua nutrition. So I am Akhtar Jaman, already introduced with you all by our moderator. So I have been working especially for aqua feed and poultry feed in Bangladesh since 20 years. So I am So today's topics, especially for me, current status of fish production and market trends in Bangladesh. Also, Bangladesh is overpopulated country in Southern Asia. So due to overpopulation, we have to focus on supplying quality protein, especially for animal protein. So we have to be concentrate on production of fish here in Bangladesh as a protein source. And so from our Department of Fisheries of the government of Bangladesh, trying a lot of especially some incentive program and the foreign investment welcome program and the extension services for feed and fish fry. So Bangladesh is getting along with good progress, especially in fish production, and they are trying their level best to be one of the most important countries for inland water fish production. Already they have achieved that.
Like that.
Yes,
sorry
please.
for disturb you. So large your screen.
Wait.
So you clear? So please large your screen. No, not this way. You click the right corner.
Is it not?
Okay, so you click the broadcast. The pattern of blockage, not this red corner below and the red corner.
Is it not clear now?
Not clear.你给他发个信息。So I think, so you know that. Yes, that one. Right. Yes, you're clear. This pattern.
Is it?
Yes,
Is
that's
it clear
correct.
now? Is it clear
Yes,
now?
yes. Now
Yeah.
very clear.
Okay.
Please
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
Thank you for being it lit. There is a picture actually to see how actually a lot of species of fishes, and they are culturing actually in the pond, mixed culture, and our national fish is Hilsha. It's contributing 1% to GDP. And you know, in dry season, there is a funny harvesting of all the farmers. It's a fun to be our traditional system of harvesting fish. So we are actually practicing fish culture from the traditional practice, but it is now getting improved by the intervention of foreign companies and as well as local companies through feed production and quality fish seed. Fish fry. So fish and fisheries sector contributes 3.61 to Bangladesh national GDP, and it's a little bit increase, and sometimes it's within 3.5 or 3.6, and around 24.41 last year it increased a bit around 25 to the agriculture GDP. And the last 10 years on average growth performance of the sector almost 9.1, but 2 years ago it was 8.19, but a little bit increase. So we are getting progress within this percentage. It shows that we are getting increase. The global position of rank of fish production in Bangladesh in inland water body is we are in third position, and fish production in close water body we got position of fifth, and overall including marine we have got 11th position. So it indicates that for inland pond water where quality feed and quality fish fries and technology pond management are the main keys to come to the position of third. So it is the good sign of getting progress, especially in feed production. And you know, water land is very limited, only inland 47.6 lakh hectare, and inland capture occupies 39.27, and just a seasonal culture area is on an average of 8.33, so much limited, you know. But open area is especially river and marine area, that's a bit good for us, but we don't have enough technology to increase our marine fisheries. But we are very centric to inland capture pond culture for the fish production. But in the coastal area, there are some practices, especially for free shrimp and prawn, but that also limited, you know. Bangladesh possesses a large inland water that's comprised, you know, rivers and open large water bodies for diversified fish resources. You know, 260 freshwater species are available here in Bangladesh, and 475 marine fish species in the country. It is good sign to get progress for feed production, but we need technology and foreign investment for getting it increased. Fish production in Bangladesh has increased for the last 2 decades, and it indicates that from 17.81 lakh metric ton, it was 2000 and just 2020 it was 46. So good sign of increasing of fish production through the technology and other quality feeds and inclusion of feed additives. The production depends on the pond culture and technologies and other functional feed additives, and especially for extension works from government and private sectors. Now private sectors are booming up to facilitate the fish production in Bangladesh. Here I would like to mention some important feed mills. Even though they are very focused on poultry feed production, now they have concentrated their fish feed production, and especially for floating fish feed, they have invested a lot. Just Nourish, it's a big company, especially for poultry, fish and cattle. Then Paragon, Kaji, Aptab, Quality, Spectra Hexa. Spectra Hexa has joint venture company. They have a joint venture with a Taiwan company and one of Thailand company. And RRP is a big investment-oriented company, especially for fish feed production. And Nahar, very recent, they have set up big fish feed production unit. They are getting progress. So these are the company who are actually focusing now on for floating fish feed, even though previously they practice with sinking fish feed. This is the graph, and you can look at the graph that it is increasing. Every year it is increasing. It's a good sign for getting progress in feed production towards fish production through quality feed and quality fish fry. And the last 5 years, you know, that is the figure from 41.3 lakh ton to 46.21, a good sign for increasing. And why I have given it here to be centric to the parameter set by our government. As a nutritionist, I have to follow this parameter, especially for carp fish feed, nursery, starter, grower, and finisher. We have to follow protein percentage. That is very important. 28% CP to 21% CP, nursery to finisher. We have to follow this parameter. This is very important. And fat percentage from 7 to 4 on the basis of ages of fish, especially for carp feeds. So this is the set standard from our government part. As a nutritionist, we have to follow this standard to get the quality of our produced feed. And same way for catfish from CP 32 to 24, from nursery to finisher, and fat from 8 to 5. This is the way, and the other parameters also here mentioned. And the same way for koi fish, same way for tilapia. You know, we have progress very dramatically to increase tilapia fish across the country. It is being cultured, and there is a good standard of CP for tilapia fish feed from 30 to 24 from nursery to finisher, and the fat 6 to 8. Same way for prawn from CP 32 to 28 and fat 7 to 5 from nursery to finisher. This for prawn. And shrimp, it is a saltwater shrimp in coastal area of Bangladesh. That shrimp is being practiced, and it has got some export market also. So it is getting a contribution 1.39 to the GDP. A good sign for us for increasing export market, and government has set up the parameter for shrimp feed, for producing shrimp feed. CP will be 40 for nursery and 32 for finisher. In between, we have to follow the CP percentage and fat from 5 to 4. So this is the fat percentage from nursery to finisher. So why I have given you the idea of starch source, you know, starch is very complex. If we consider protein from a plant source, so we have to consider how complex it is, because you know non-starch polysaccharide is the main barrier because fish has some species to species, shorter bowels, so it's very difficult to digest complex starch. Starch is very important carbohydrate. If there is any stress, that's time starch, glucose is very important for minimizing starch. So utilization of glucose from starch, how it will be broken down, in shrimp, there is no liver and pancreas, but a little bit participation of the liver and pancreas, that is hepatopancreas activities. So we have to consider in what way complex starch will be digested and the ingredient will be selected. That is very important from nutritional point of view. And excess carbohydrate, all the times in feed causes some intestinal problem in aqua feed. The reason is that gut length differ from species to species. That's very important area we have to look into this matter, how the plant source protein item will be selected. Then we are going for a protein in the same way. Protein is very complex part, our hair also protein, it is a structural protein, bone also protein, it is a structural protein, but it's not so easy to digest. So we have to consider easily digestible protein. That is very important source, is animal protein source. But nowadays animal protein source price and other plant protein source price has gone up. So we have to consider in what way there will be mix of plant protein source and animal protein source. But even though we know that animal protein source digestibility is good, amino acid profile balance is good, and there is less anti-nutritional factor. In the plant protein source, there are some anti-nutritional factor, especially we can mention in the cottonseed, gossypol, and some anti-nutritional factors in soybean meal that have to destroy it by heat. Otherwise, it will not be easily digested, and it will hamper also other nutrients. So it will get also imbalance of intestinal health. So that is very important. We have to consider animal protein. Animal protein doesn't contain any anti-nutritional factor. That's very important issue. And attractiveness of animal protein is very important for fishes. And very rich and comprehensive nutrition. Always we consider that all the essential amino acids will be available in the animal protein source. And from digestible point of view, and the absorption and utilization of protein, especially for amino acid, is easily digestible if it is from animal protein source. That's why we have to consider it as a nutritionist. We have to select how much animal protein source will be added to get it balanced in amino acid profile. That is very important to get a good FCR. This is the point, even though we have to consider crude fat, and for floating fish feed, we have to consider 16 to 20 kgs of oil. So that's why if we put oil, how, or if there is any crude fat, how it will be digested. Emulsification is very important. So what is the emulsification? Large drop of oil will be easily small droplets. Then it will be mycelial. So who will get it? Help to get mycelial? Bile. Bile is very important issue here. We will get micelles. So micelles is easily absorbed, and bile helps activate the lipase enzyme also to get more bile and to get more small droplets towards micelle. Then fat will be easily digestible. When we'll put fish oil especially for give energy and attractant also for fish. That's why we have to consider how it will be into small droplets. Longs and fatty acid is available in animal oil, so we have to consider. If we put fish oil, we have to consider bile to get it more micelle for easily digestible of the long chain fatty acid. to get it micelles to get more absorption of digested oil. This is the beauty of fish, and even though it is a big challenge, if we get villi health good enough, so more nutrient will be easily digested and easily absorbed, and utilization of nutrient will be done in a good way. Main reason is that space to spaces, shorter bowels means weaker digestion. So we have to consider in what way nutrient will be absorbed and what type of help we need to get from feed additives and from functional feed additives, from the technological upgradation for feed additives to get more absorption and utilization of the nutrient. So this is very important area to get the villi health as expected, as good it is. When the villi health will be good enough, then the nutrient will come through the villi to the bloodstream. So ultimately goal to get all the nutrient in the bloodstream, then it will go to the liver. Liver is the port, large port, very important organ of the body. So it's very important to get nutrient through the bloodstream to the liver, and then liver will get some works on nutrients to get the healthy performance of the fish. So from liver, cholesterol is being produced, and that cholesterol contributes to production of bile. That is very important. So we have to consider fat also to get cholesterol, ultimately to produce bile. If we don't have enough bile, so how the fat will be utilized? So liver has some function. It will help to produce glucose, from glucose to glucogen, and liver has good activity to detoxification of poison and toxins, that may be endotoxin and exotoxin, and a very important issue is produces of bile. So this is very important area, and liver is good enough for fat soluble vitamins, vitamin A, D3E, and the essential amino acid also, especially methionine, and it has good function of hormones and enzymes. That is very important. So we have to consider in what way liver will be healthy, in what way villi length will be good enough and villi will be healthy. So nutrient absorption, what you have given in the feed formula, that should be digested, that should be absorbed, that should be utilized to get optimum and expected FCR. That is very important. And the enzyme, in our fish feed formula, we have to incorporate some liquid enzymes. Why liquid enzyme, especially phytase enzyme and some other enzymes, protease enzymes. After extrusion, in the extrusion temperature is very high, so enzyme is protein, it may be denatured by the exposure of excessive heat. So we have to, after extrusion, we have to spray some enzymes. So if we spray enzymes, it should be enough substrate. If we spray protease enzymes, so we have to consider plant protein and other protein, because enzyme is there. If we don't put any enzyme in the formula, so we have to consider that easily digestible protein source will be added. So there is a correlation, what ingredient will be selected and how much enzymes and on what substance will be used for this enzyme. That is very critical issue we have to consider to get the good FCR through our feed. And it is also an issue, and we have to consider the temperature. Optimum enzymes, optimum temperature will be 35 to 40 degrees centigrade, and pH will be optimum 7. And within this range, we have to consider to get the good activity of the enzymes. Here is a sample feed formula for your understanding in what way we are using local ingredient and important ingredients to get a formula. Here is a Pavda floating fish feed formula. You look into the formula, wheat powder and soybean meal high pro, I mean a bit higher crude protein in a high pro soybean meal, and rapeseed cake, and fish meal, local fish meal. You know, there are some fishes which has been dried for using in the fish meal, but there is no standard CP. That's why it's in the always range, and it is sometimes adulterated with other things. So to get the least cost feed, some feed mill owners consider these things, but we are not actually recommending it. We would like to get the imported fish meal. And de-oil rice bran, this is available in our country. Bran oil is being used, I mean plant oil, bran oil, and de-oil rice bran also used as plant protein source. Limestone, dicalcium phosphate, and bran oil and palm oil, fish oil also, and runion as feed additives for utilizing oil, because we have to consider 18 to 20 kgs of oil. So in what way this oil will be utilized, that's why we have to consider feed additives. And D-L-methionine, salt, and vitamin and mineral premix, and fish attractants also. In our country, there are some fish attractants. It is nothing but flavor. Same way for carb broiler feed formula, same ingredient, especially a variation in the plant protein source and animal protein source towards least cost feed formulation. Same way for shrimp feed. Shrimp feed protein percentage is much higher. So that's why we have to consider poultry meal, dry fish meal, and a very important issue to eliminate toxins. That's a toxin binder. And in rainy season, we have to consider mole inhibitor. Liquid mole inhibitor is being used. Mole inhibitor is nothing but organic acids. And sometimes, you know, DDGS. Distillate dried grain with soluble, and sometimes corn gluten meal also used in our country, even though previously it was not used. Now it is being used within the limited amount to get it okay. If we use it, we have to consider the protease enzymes to get protein from the plant source, because you know plant source protein digestion is very poor. So this is the same way for pan gas. And you know, for your consideration into the idea in what way ingredient is being selected, major items: maize in our country, wheat, rice polish, wheat imported and local production, maize imported and local production, rice polish it's available, soybean meal imported and local production, dual rice available, local, rapeseed local and imported a little bit, DDGS fully imported, corn gluten fully imported, dry fish local, fish meal fully imported, fish oil fully imported, soybean oil local and imported, bran oil it's locally available, and DCP and MCP, monocalcium phosphate, dicalcium phosphate imported. These are the imported and little bit local. So price cost all the times gonna up, because international market depends on the ingredients price. These days it is gone up, so it's very difficult part to get least cost fish formulation using a mixture of ingredients. And minor items, you know, it's very common to all of you: vitamins and minerals, fat utilizer, then enzymes, especially protease enzymes, phytase enzymes, acidifier, I mean mold inhibitor, amino acid, pellet binder is very important issue. To get it bind, especially for sinking feed, it's very important how much it will be bind to get all the nutrient for a long time. Fish attractant, especially flavor, growth promoter, toxin binder to avoid mold and fungus, mold inhibitor, I mean propionic acids are being added to the formula. So good nutrition in animal production system is essential to economical production of healthy and high quality products. In fish farming, aquaculture, nutrition is a critical area. Typically represent approximately 50 to 60 of the variable production cost. So we have to consider the nutrition. Otherwise, we will not be able to produce more fish through a quality fish feed. So that's why we have to consider in what way our feed formula will be set up and the nutrient will be absorbed easily, and what are the feed additives we have to incorporate in the formula. That is the critical issue. We have to consider it again and again. Fish nutrition has advanced dramatically in recent years with the development of innovative functional feed additives. Nowadays, globally, there are some feed additives, they have some specific function. So we have to incorporate it in the formula to get it more utilization of the nutrient. Why should I get a nutrient drainage through feces? This is very important. And formulation of species-specific feeds support the growth of the aquaculture. This is very important. What species, what age, what environment, what season, and then formulation will be changed, ingredient will be changed. And on the basis of additive inclusion, formulation will be little bit changed. That is the critical area for formulating feed formula. Bangladesh has ranked 3rd position. I'm telling you again, so it has a good progress, and 5th in aqua production and 11th in marine. We are focusing for marine feed production because we have to consider technology and foreign investment. There is a huge scopes to be developed in marine fish production. Even though China has got good progress in marine fish production, so we have to follow the pioneer countries' technology and other a strategy in what way we can get it increased, especially for getting higher ranking globally. Bangladesh has created business environment. Good news for joint venture company. For fish feed production, fish processing, promoting fish hatchery, for producing quality fish fry, quality feed. Eventually, private sector has encouraged to the fish feed production and fish fry production and extension service also. So still there is a gap of technology and investment. So if we have more technology and investment, the production can reach double easily. So foreign investment are always welcome to develop Bangladesh fish production. And now we are actually wrap up the discussion. Fish feed formulas need proper selection of especially protein-based ingredients. Why I'm telling here protein-based ingredients? Because fish feed especially depends on high quality protein, which will be easily digestible. That's why a selection of protein base. If we select a lower quality protein, then we have to consider what type of feed additives we have to incorporate. That is a very important issue. Nutritionally rich quality ingredients are always needed for fish feed. And digestibility is the best parameter of plant and animal protein based ingredients are to be considered. This is very important, digestibility of plant and animal protein. And to reduce feed cost of plant and animal proteins, availability and price are to be considered. So if you want to get the least cost formulation, so what type of ingredients are available, we have to consider what are the limitations, how much anti-nutritional factors are there, what additives will be added, what are the challenges. We have to consider it, and we have to incorporate some feed additives to minimize it. To enhance digestibility and immunity, innovative functional feed additives, developed feed additives, new feed additives need to be used for further development of the feed formula and towards a good FCR, towards more fish production, even though other parameters depends on the total quality FCR, I mean pond culture and the technology, good quality fish fry and other things depends on natural calamities, and these things are very important issue to have a good result towards good FCR. That's also be a considerable issue for getting good result in fish production. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to give you insight of the practices of our country for producing fish feed, selecting ingredients, and getting optimum result. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Actor, for your presentation. I believe our audience has learned a lot of information on aquaculture, Bangladesh aquaculture. Okay, from the feed formula for different kinds of fish and the mineral material using by the feed mill industry, and also promote the digestion and absorption of nutrients through adding the enzyme and some renewal. So I think one question for you, Mr. Actor. The first is, does Bangladesh not use imported fish meal for shrimp feed? The fish meal from overseas for Bangladesh?
Yes, good questions. You know, very recent. We have to consider fish meal. Even though fish meal price is gone up, lower animal protein source was in Bangladesh meat and bone meal. You know, meat and bone meal. It was imported, but the government has banned it due to some religious aspect. You know, our government always want to get it meat and bone from beef source. I mean cattle source, but they don't want to get it from pig source. I mean pork source. So that's why it has been banned. So we have to go to for fish meal, imported fish meal, or locally dry fish. For getting as much lower as price we expected, and we have to consider other plant source. That's why we have to consider protease enzymes also. Nowadays, you know, protease enzyme is not good enough for sinking or pelleting feed if it is not thermostable. So we have to consider what protease enzyme is thermostable. Then we can eat it. So there is a challenge whether it is thermostable. That's why after extrusion, after pelleting, we are using liquid enzyme.
Okay. I think the second question maybe after the webinar you can communicate with Mr. Actor. We move to third question. What kind of enzyme needed for the fish? I think this is very well, right? Yeah, it is many kinds of enzyme. Yeah, many.
It's also good question. Many enzymes. You know, as a nutritionist, I have to point it out. What type of ingredient I am actually incorporating in the formula. So on the basis of that, how much it will be digestible. So to get more digested ingredient, we have to consider enzymes. So enzyme from phytase enzyme, protease enzyme, very important, and some non-starch polysaccharide enzyme, I mean glycanase enzyme.
Wow, I think 4 more questions. Time is limited, so I think maybe later we will answer all the rest questions in the afternoon. So thanks again for your presentation, Mr. Actor. Hopefully in the afternoon section, you can share more information during the Q&A section.